morning. So in this video, we are going to make banana bread. So you can make banana bread with or without nuts, and you can also make it either with or without almond flour or regular flour, depending on if you are gluten-free. So the first thing we're going to do is set our oven, and our oven needs to be set to 350 degrees. So I'm going to bake in the upper oven for 350 and turn it on. So as that starts to warm, we're going to get started on making our mix. So I'm going to set this down so you can see what I'm doing. So our recipe says, preheat the oven, which we already did. Grease and flour banana loaf pan. So I use a silicone pan for our recipe today. And I'm going to use a type of spray that does both the nonstick and the flour with it. So I don't have to do both. So I'm going to shake it and just spray the inside of my pan so it's nice and coated. So you can see the inside of my pan is coated with nonstick spray. The next thing that we're going to do, is mix together the softened butter and sugar. So I have my room temperature softened butter. It's been sitting out for a while, so it's pretty soft. And then the sugar. So we're going to add the sugar. It's 1 stick of unsalted butter, and then 3/4 cup of sugar, which I've already measured. We're going to put those two together, and we're just going to mix those in together. Just for a couple seconds, or probably a minute or two. Once those are well mixed, then we're going to mix in, so there we are. It looks nice and together. So next thing we need is 3 ripe bananas. I like my bananas for my banana bread very ripe, so you will see mine are brown. It gives it a much stronger flavor the browner it is. So a brown banana means that there is a lot of natural sugar. So when bananas go brown, it means that the sugar in the banana has increased, is what my understanding is. I could be wrong. That's just what my understanding is about bananas going brown, which is why the flavor is probably stronger. I don't know. So we're going to open up our bananas and put those in. That's 1, 2, and 3. The other thing I do is as you will see, I open the banana at the stub end rather than the pointy tip. I do this when I eat bananas as well as cook with them. It just opens a lot easier than it does if you do it from the other end. So I'm going to mash those bananas right in there with my sugar and my butter. So you're going to mash it all up until it looks like about applesauce. And then, so now it's starting to get pretty mushy. I'll show you here in just a second. You'll see it looks pretty mushy, pretty thin, right? So now what we're going to do is add 2 eggs. And I cracked the eggs in a different video, so we're going to use the 2 eggs that we cracked in the last video. We're going to pour those carefully so they don't spill. And we're going to mix those in as well until they are well blended. You can mix the eggs if you want before you mix them in with the batter, but you don't have to. Just make sure they're mixed pretty good. So we're just going to mix those up for a couple seconds. Okay. Now we need flour, baking soda, and salt. So I'm going to set this mixture to the side. I already pre-measured my flour. So we're going to go ahead and measure our salt and baking soda. So we need a 1/2 teaspoon salt. So I'm going to look for my 1/2 teaspoon. We're going to measure that out and pour it in with the flour. And then we also will need some baking soda. So we need 1 teaspoon baking soda. So I need to move to a teaspoon. Get the baking soda. And we are going to, remember when we measure this, we want it to slide at the top to make sure that it is flat. We're going to put that in with our flour as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just take the same fork that I used for our mix and mix the salt and the flour and the baking soda together. Okay. And then we are going to carefully add this mixture to the batter we already started. So we're just going to slowly pour that in as I continue to mix the batter. And I prefer using a fork rather than a whisk, but you could use either. You can also use a mixer if you'd like. But as you can see, it kind of gets out of the bowl and makes a mess. So you just got to be patient and slow when you're mixing. Okay, we're going to add a little more. And then one more time. We're going to add the rest of the flour. If you put all the flour in at once, it'll just kind of fly out of your bowl as you're trying to mix it. So that's why you do it slow. And you will start seeing dough forming. So it's getting thicker. It's starting to look like dough. See how it's kind of getting thick? It's not coming off my spoon so easily anymore. So you're going to mix that up until you don't see any more white in the bowl, which is your flour mixture. And then the last thing we're going to do is add the vanilla. And if you have any raisins or nuts you would like to add in. So we need a 1/2 teaspoon vanilla. So we're going to very slowly, I would do this over a sink, but my computer is kind of sitting on the edge of my sink right now. So 1/2 teaspoon vanilla. And I'm going to mix this in. And then I'm going to only do half of my loaf with nuts. So I'm actually going to pour my mixture into my pan. And it's so thick, you'll see it doesn't really spread out. So what I'm going to do is just push my walnuts in to the side that I want. And I thought I'd grab walnuts, but I grabbed pecans. I'm going to go ahead and look and see. There are my chopped walnuts. I'm going to open that. Baking does get messy. That is okay. So I'm going to take and put a handful of my nuts just on the side that I want and then mix it in just on that side. Now you're not going to want to do this if anybody is allergic to nuts, right? It's just half my family likes them and their banana bread and the other half would rather not have them in their banana bread. So now we're making everybody happy. All right, and I heard that my oven is ready to go. So we are going to take our loaf pan, take 2 hands, open up your oven and go ahead and set it on in there. And then it says it'll take about, let's see, 55 to 60 minutes. So we are going to set the timer on the stove for, I'm going to go ahead and set it for 60 minutes. And so it's been about 45 minutes, but it's starting to smell really good in here. So I just want to check my banana bread to see if it's done. So how you do that is you take a toothpick, and I'm going to lower it so you can see what I'm doing. And then you open up the oven, and remember we want to be oven safe. It's hot, so I put on my gloves. We're going to open this up, and then I'm going to take a toothpick very carefully and stick it in the bread and then pull it out. If it comes out with no batter on it, that means it's done. And so it looks like it's good to me. So I'm going to put another oven mitt on and pull out my banana bread safely. I'm going to shut my oven off. And I'm also going to turn off my timer. So now I need to let my bread cool for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then you can slice it with a knife. And we enjoy putting a little bit of butter on the top. Enjoy it however you like. I hope you had fun.